Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode here of the Echelon Cycling Podcast. And this is where, of course, we talk about what's been happening in the world of cycling and look ahead as well. And today I'm joined by Mr. Gregor himself, Ewan Wilson, as, Patrick is somewhere in the Netherlands on a bike trip. But yeah, Ewan, I mean, it is the winter season, but there's quite a few stories to go through.
There are quite a few stories to go through. It has been the off-season, but this week we've had wheels turning, really, if you will, in terms of transfers, some route announcements, and so forth to keep us going in the off-season.
I mean, we might as well start with podcast favorite, Miguel Angel Lopez. Ewan, what's the rumor here? He's been struggling to find a team in the professional ranks, if we call the continental ranks. He's been having more trouble with the UCI as well. But that aside, what's the story here?
Well, the story here is an intriguing one. It comes from the press outlet Antenna. They're saying that Miguel Angel Lopez is potentially close to an agreement with Eolo Kometa. This came this morning, the 13th of November, 2023. And also on the same day, Eolo Kometa tweeted out a sort of transfer teaser after this news was reported by Antenna, saying that Lopez was close to signing for Eolo Kometa. If we are to believe all of this together, then potentially Lopez could be making his return to the Grand Tour scene, potentially at next year's Giro d'Italia. Also, to add in new context as well, Eolo Kometa, in terms of commercial news, will be changing their name next year to Polti Kometa, following a sponsor change of hands over at that team, headed up by Alberto Contador and Ivan Basso. So, Scott, Miguel Angel Lopez could be over to Eolo Kometa or Polti Kometa in 2024.
But is he not under a sanction right now from the UCI? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, that does complicate it. But I mean, if he passes the sanction, then I guess it could be a good move for Eolo because they've just bought in like a big Grand Tour start. But the UCI still haven't made their final decision on what happens with Lopez. With all of the 2022 shenanigans, that they are taking their sweet time to make a decision. Bear in mind, earlier this season, we finally got a decision on Rob Stannard about 3 years after his doping tests, well, what the actual tests themselves were taken. So, take this with a pinch of Miguel Angel Lopez salts, but it could be quite cool to see him at this team. I know we were like hoping that Eolo would make a big signing, and they've lost a lot of their big signings in Fortunato and Albanese this year. So someone like Lopez coming could really change the fortunes of that team, particularly next year's Giro.
Yeah, I mean, if we take away the doping sanction, which is obviously quite hard, he is one of the guys who's podiumed almost all the Grand Tours, apart from the Tour de France. He is, when he kind of dipped in form or whatever, he was one of the guys. This is the guy who won the Col de la Loz stage back in 2020. So it's like you said, it is a superstar still.
Yeah, and he would be a Grand Tour leader for this squad, which doesn't have a leader at the moment. Like, who are they really riding for the Giro? Is it
Baez brothers?
The Baez brothers, but they go breakaways. Who else do they have?
End of list. Yeah, I mean, it's true what you said. Losing Fortunato and Albanese is... They need someone, but I just didn't think it was going to be in the Colombian vein, if you will.
But bear in mind, they have also been on the transfer market for Colombians. This has been a long-running theme this year for Eolo Kometa. They announced Santiago Umba this week. We also had...
No. Astana. Not Eolo.
Well, they were rumoured with Umba and Restrepo earlier this year. And the team, of course, has a Spanish core with Alberto Contador being the one of the managers. And they've had a history of having Spanish riders on that squad anyway.
So Spanish riders equals Colombian riders. Is that what you're saying?
Linguistically, think about it. And also, Miguel Angel Lopez was on an Italian-Kazakh team.
Yeah, we saw him absolutely wipe the floor with Volta, Colombia, all the different races that he's been winning. Okay, the San Luis is probably the best marker, even though you don't want to acknowledge it because Gano's second. But what Miguel Angel, he's not been having a great year as well. Remember, he got kidnapped as well in his own home. That was a bit of a sad point of his year. But for him, is this a good move in his career? I mean, he's just happy to get out of the continental ranks, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit like Quintana as well. Like both of them to get back into like a Grand Tour level would be ideal. they've been training and working so forth in the off season. So, well, for Lopez, he's been racing for the past year. He really is a guy who has the caliber of being on a team like Eolo Kometa, as they will be known. So we'll see. We'll see this actually does come into fruition in the following days, maybe even today on the day of release. Eolo Kometa have not yet tweeted their transfer announcement, so we are in anticipation for who it could be.
But like, is it a good move for them? A guy who's question marks over him.
Yeah, they want a star, and if they believe in Lopez, then I think it's maybe like it's an okay move. Maybe they've had discussions behind the scenes, and like he is innocent or whatever. I mean, we can't really comment, we can't really speculate, but maybe they have faith in him, and they're like, you know what, we'll bring him on. It might be a bit of a risk, but it's also a superstar for us as we rebrand as Eolo Kometa in the new year.
Yeah, you won't be winning time trials next year like he has been this year. We would assume then.
Probably not. And also, by the way, I believe that Polti is a vacuum cleaner brand. That'll be fantastic to see Miguel Angel Lopez advertising like vacuum cleaners for his new team. That, and then isn't Kometa like prepackaged meat?
Yeah, I think so.
Vacuum cleaners and ham.
That was a
combination.
I mean, we have more transfers, but we'll not go through. We won't make a complete transfer talks. So the route for the World Championships next year in Zurich was also announced. And Ewan, I mean, what do you make of this? It's quite a tough course. This main circuit consisting of 7 laps, quite a hilly terrain, one that suits the punches. Apparently, the circuit itself is 27 kilometers long. And yeah, are we going to see Mathieu van der Poel raise his hands once again this year?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it is a route for Mathieu van der Poel. I do not think he'll be doing the double. I think, if anything, we have more of a chance of Tadej Pogacar wearing the rainbow jersey next year than Mathieu van der Poel.
Who saw that coming? You say Tadej Pogacar's going.
Be real. This looks like an Amstel Gold kind of route. But Van der Poel's also on Amstel Gold.
And Wout van Aert.
Yeah, true. Well, I was about to say Pogacar, Wout van Aert, I think probably have a stronger chance than Van der Poel. The Glasgow route had a lot of elevation meters, but at the same time as well, it was a criterium style circuit with short, steep climbs. This one has 2 kilometer long climbs at 6%. I think that over a long profile could wear down the likes of Mathieu van der Poel. And instead, I'm going to say we are going to see Pogacar and Wout van Aert really rise to the occasion. But I mean, as you delved into on the main channel, Wout van Aert probably would not take the win, given his record in international cycling events over the past 5 or so years. So I'm going to go out and say Pogacar early on. It's the easy choice, I am aware. And I mean, it's going to be a good event. Switzerland, they'll have plenty of fans down on the side of the road. It's the UCI's home nation. And there'll be plenty of home riders looking to get success, including Stefan Koen. In the women's race, there are fewer laps because apparently women are not able to compete at the same level as men. 4 laps for the women around that Zurich hilly circuit. Kind of opens itself up. The women's race really could go to, I mean, Kopecky as well. If Kopecky can pick up the form she had this summer, could do the double. We've seen her climb really, really well, particularly from the Tour de France onwards last year. And also expect the likes of Nubakoma and Vollering and so forth to also be battling it out on that kind of course. And also for Danish interest, this could do really well for Trevlidvig.
You think?
You know, take a Danish World Championship title.
We've had one, Dulixen in Qatar.
Oh, yeah. Let's hope the same fate doesn't happen to Trevlidvig.
But I mean, we might as well move on. Cyclocross, Dendermonde. I don't know why it was in the middle of November, but it was here. It used to be in the end of December, obviously still with asterisks, no Mathieu van der Poel, no Wout van Aert, no Tom Pidcock, even though you don't want to call him in the big 3 anymore. But yeah, a win for Pim Ronhaar, one of the youngsters coming through the ranks, and no Van Empen victory either, but still a Dutch woman, Alvardo, former world champion, I think she was. Dutch success all out again.
Yeah, I think this weekend's more being clouded by some rumoured quotes by David Apartient, the head of the UCI, saying that he was annoyed that none of the big Galacticos were here. The Cyclocross Galacticos, particularly Thibaut Nys. He was very unhappy that Thibaut Nys was skipping Dendermonde this weekend. Understandably, I guess, in terms of spectator sport, Thibaut Nys brings in a lot of Belgian eyes. It's a really key market for the cyclocross.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah, and I mean, instead we had a 1-2 for the Dutch, which is not common in cyclocross. It's usually you have a Belgium in at least second place in those kind of races. And yeah, for Ronhaar as well, it's a really good victory, a big step up for him going into the rest of this season. Also, I just want to mention Cam Mason as well from Scotland had another great race. Had some bike problems at the beginning of the race, had some broken spokes, and still finished in 5th place.
Wait, I thought he finished 11th.
Did he finish 11th? Fuck. Oh shit, he did finish 11th. When was he in 5th? I think he was like 5th place at one point and then fell down.
Yeah, no, I mean,
anyways,
he's still young though, so he's coming through the ranks.
Yes, this is why I personally try to keep clear of cyclocross. I'd get very anxious whenever it's mentioned on the podcast.
I mean, the thing he's saying, Lapetier, that the riders have to come. I mean, I think they are getting paid like an appearance fee as well, but they have different targets. If he's not in Belgium, he's probably in Spain training.
Well, for Nate, I understand Van Aert and Van der Poel, but I mean, Thibaudet is probably trying to target more road stuff next year, but less of an excuse than the others potentially.
Do you think though? Because he's also a road rider now, so it's like,
yeah, but he's already been doing cyclocross for the past months.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to like justify. I'm not a part of David Lapartien's team.
We might as well move on. We spoke about this last week. Well, we're not going to the Giro d'Italia, but apparently there's a leaked Jumbo-Visma team, and it's also been denied that it's not the Jumbo-Visma team. Ewan, what do you make of the very young Giro d'Italia team that has been, apparently leaked?
Yeah, exactly. Then it's been leaked by a number of sources. It wasn't actually announced by staff. It was mentioned in a podcast, I believe. And in their targets as well was spoken about that they want to really push the young riders. So here's the list that we have at the moment. Wout van Aert, Attila Valter, Tom Gloag, Matteo Jorgensen, Ben Tullet, Johannes Staune-Mittet, and Per Strand Hagenes. A very young team, as we mentioned. Tom Gloag, young rider, as is Johannes Staune-Mittet and Per Strand Hagenes. Really excited to see how those Norwegian riders fare in their first Grand Tours. We saw them bring a young team to the Giro last year. Even the year before, we saw them with that Kees Leemreize sort of breakthrough Giro in 2022. And it looks like they're following a similar trend. I'm a little bit gutted to see Attila Valter's not been moved up a little bit, and Matteo Jorgensen, given that we might not see Wout van Aert and Nathan van Hooydonk at the Tour de France. Well, we're definitely not going to see Nathan van Hooydonk at the Tour de France. That opened up some space. I really thought Matteo Jorgensen could slot into that one as a bit of a Swiss Army knife rider. But Scott, it's an exciting team. Really, really excited to see how Staune-Mittet goes.
Yeah, I mean, we complain a lot about the big teams not sending youngsters to important races, and this is arguably the second most important race of the year. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to retain the Giro, though, let's be honest.
I agree. I don't think they will retain the Giro. I think we're going to go back to old school Jumbo-Visma Giro, which is like trying to get stage wins.
Per Strand Hagenes, I think he just takes stage. He's insane, that guy.
Stage 1.
Yeah.
He could go for that one. Probably, yeah, he's going to have to wait until later into the race. That stage into Naples could really suit him. And we'll see how he goes. There'll be a lot of eyes as well on him because we know so much about him at the youth level. He's been a big youth sensation, similar with Staune-Mittet. 2 Norwegians as well in this team. Remember, the team is rebranding as Visma lease-a-bike. Visma, their lead sponsor, is a Norwegian team. Are we now going to see Norwegians get priority access in this squad for Grand Tour starts going forward, Scott, do you think? In the same way maybe Dutch people got priority access before when it was Jumbo?
Priority.
Oh, I mean...
Yeah, no, you could be onto something. Yeah, obviously a Norwegian sponsor wants to see their Norwegian riders out. And yeah, it's quite interesting to see what they're going to do. But I mean, Ben Tullet, I think he's been talked about so highly over the last few years. He's this big talent, obviously cyclocross background, moving to Jumbo-Visma from Ineos. And do you think he could potentially have a breakout ride here at this Giro?
Well, I'd say he had a breakout ride in the 2022 Giro. Although it was a bit of an Indian summer. He was very good for the first week and then sort of faded away. He had a brilliant time trial in Budapest. He was right up there in the GC, but definitely I think he could really slot into it. I still don't know what kind of rider we're seeing out of Ben Tullet. Is he a classics rider? Is he a GC rider? Is he a puncher, a time trialist? He's one of these sort of Swiss Army knife kids coming through. We'll see what he can bring. Maybe this Giro will give us more of a sense of what kind of rider he is. But it'll be intriguing to see how he goes. It feels like he didn't quite settle into Ineos Grenadiers over the past couple of years. He said to set up like sort of the hope of something Ineos Grenadiers. This didn't quite happen. So maybe a change of scenery at Jumbo Visma or Visma lease-a-bike will give him a new lease of life. And also, Scott, I'm really, really intrigued about Matteo Jorgensen. What's he going to bring in this Giro?
Yeah, true. There's so many of the riders that could potentially ride for their own chances. So suddenly the White Went Art project could maybe be thrown to the back burner.
But Matteo Jorgensen in the off-season did say that he'd rather work for a winning teammate than GC. But Matteo Jorgensen could actually probably finish 8th in GC at next year's Giro.
Yeah, I mean, it is an exciting, very exciting team. And who do you think they should actually ride for? Or should it just be a free-for-all? Is it just a stage hunting team? Is that what you think?
It could be a stage hunting team. I think it depends how Wout goes. If Wout's up there, I mean, top 5 could be possible. I don't know whether we're just like sort of too optimistic on that front. If Jorgensen went for GC, he could probably get 9th, 8th, I would say. It's quite, the Giro route, we've seen Jorgensen ride really well at 1 week long stage races, and it's essentially a 1 week long stage race with 2 extra weeks added on.
Is that the quota?
So next year's Giro is just Tirreno Adriatico with just 2 extra weeks. And then like they're probably going to be called off because of the snow in the mountains. Like, be real, you know. So Jorgensen, if he's hanging on and he's like on his like spring 2023 form, he could be right up there in the lower ranks, top 10. Oh, but Stanimeta, we have no real sort of point of comparison to how he rides at World Tour stage races.
We've seen the Tour de l'Avenir and then going on to win the Tour de France. I'm not sure anyone's actually done that with the under 23 Giro and then next year winning the Giro. Oh, well, that's not true. No, because Tadej Pogačar had 1 season, then he did it. So I lie. We haven't seen the double. Well,
I'm not saying he's going to win it, but like, I'm intrigued. You know, he could have it really depends. We don't have much of a point of comparison with him on the World Tour level. Similar with Per Strand Hagenes, but when he was at the Sparkassen Münsterland Giro, whatever it's called, he was fantastic in that. Could go for some stages, could be a bit of a breakaway star.
But we might as well move back to transfers. And this one is one that's quite intriguing. Gianni Moscon, remember him? Yeah, he's been at Astana for 2 years, isn't it? Or 1 year? Not even sure. That just shows performances. But yeah, he is changing to, out of everyone, Soudal Quickstep, the team that have been moving more towards Remco Evenepoel and away from the classics, and now Moscon is dropped into the team. And what's your first thoughts on this bizarre transfer?
See, you say it's bizarre, but if this transfer happened in 2017,
yeah, okay, fair enough.
You know, like this would have been such a good transfer 5 years ago. But now it's like he's gone past 8. We know he's had some big health problems as well that have made it really, really hard for him over the past 2 years. With his time at Astana, Kazakhstan, I think it's a blood problem that just kept him feeling fatigued a lot of the time. We saw glimpses of him back in form earlier this year at the Giro when he was working for Mark Cavendish. He also rode the Tour de France. So it definitely looks like we're getting Gianni Moscon back slowly but steadily. And this move is, intriguing because all the signings we've had for Soudal have really been climbers and so forth, or young people, in order to help with the Evenepoel target. But Moscon joining, definitely feels like a bit of a spanner in the works. But also, I'm intrigued to see how it's going to go. Maybe this change of scenery will help him, but I can't really overlook the health problems that have plagued him over the past 2 years and assume that he's going to be bouncing back into tip-top form at Soudal Quickstep.
I mean, we saw like flashes of Moscon in the Giro, but it was only for like 2 minutes. It wasn't like the old Moscon that was up there in road races or the World Championships in Bergen, winning left, right, and center. And then, well, that's not true, but he won a lot. He very strong engine, and despite all the problematic, what should we call it, personality disorders or defects. I'm saying his racism and general just attitude as a bike rider. They still kept him on the books at Ineos Grenadiers, who are so protective of the image of the team, but they didn't want to let him go to any other team. They would rather keep him than,
Maybe selfishly, I'm intrigued to see how Gianni Moscon and Patrick Leflorida get on over at Soudal Quickstep.
Oh, that's yeah. That's not going to be fun. Who would he share a room with as well?
Who would he share him with?
Yeah, if he goes to the Giro, is he going to be in the same room as Remco?
Or surely not. Who's in the? Who do I think would share a room with him? I don't know.
Yeah, what does the 2024 calendar look like for Moscon anyway with Quickstep? Are you going to throw him into the remains of their classics team and then throw him into potentially the Tour de France? Because he could be like a Bosenhagen kind of role, but for Remco,
At his best, yes. But
yeah, true.
maybe classics and then do pair him up with Tim Merlier, maybe for the sprints. Do you think? He was quite good with Cavendish at the Giro.
Do you not remember where they were trying to bring back the breakaway and Moscon was the guy they used and then he just faded quickly?
That's also because Astana Kazakhstan did not have a great at the Giro. And also, other teams weren't investing. Magnus Court, you're welcome. But yeah, I really don't know. He's only 29. The thing is, because he really blew up when he was young, and it still feels like remarkable that he is that young. He really should be on the world tour, you would think. It would have been cool to see him over at Eolo Kometa, but alas, Soudal it is. And they've called him the tractor on all of the Soudal Quickstep announcement sort of posts about him. Is he going to be the new Tim de Klerk, the old tractor?
I think it's because he's a farmer. So yeah, it could be. They lost Tim de Klerk, so it's like, is that the role they bought him for?
Maybe, potentially. I mean, I thought that there are plenty of other people in the peloton who could do that role, but maybe Moscon will find his feet in that role, a bit like Tim de Klerk did when he moved over from Kopsvol Vlaanderen back in, was it 2016, 17, moved over to Soudal. He suddenly became this sort of tractor engine who controlled the race from 100 kilometers to go until 50k to go. Maybe that's going to be Moscon's role now that he's at Soudal Quickstep, because he couldn't do that at Ineos Grenadiers. We didn't really see any glimpses of that at Ineos. Then moving over to Astana, we saw glimpses of it at the Giro, and maybe Soudal saw something in that and want to sort of make him the new Tim de Klerk in the years to come. He's a guy he's 29, he's been in the World Tour now for almost, 7 years, knows his way around the peloton. Maybe that experience is super valuable.
Okay, he's had the illness as well, but I was going to say, being one of these super talents like a Peter Scan, well, not quite Peter Scan, but definitely up there when he was very young, and then kind of fizzling out in his later years. It seems to be a bit of a trend, and I mean, I would be a bit worried for Juan Ayuso and Tadej Pogačar, to be honest.
Yeah, potentially, but at the same time, I also think it is that big health problem in 2022 that just did sort of throw him off, because he was winning in 2021. He almost won Paris-Roubaix in 2021.
True, we didn't even mention that. I so wanted him to win that edition. Wait, what? You didn't want him to win? No, okay.
Anyways, so it really,
the bike rider, not the person.
Sorry?
The bike rider, not the person. It was in the calendar anyways, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I know, and then Colbrelli won, which was like intriguing. Let's say that the Italian racist crashed off and almost won, and instead the Italian right winger won the race, who tried to run for Forza Italia. Like, why can't we just have an unproblematic Italian Paris-Roubaix champion? Anyway, yeah, the health problem for me is probably the reason I would say that.
Do you think it's a good buy for Soudal Quickstep? Well, obviously we don't know what he's on, but you would assume he's on marginally less than he was at Ineos Grenadiers.
It really depends. I mean, how much is he asking for? What role is he going to slot into? How much was Tim de Klerk on if he is replacing Tim de Klerk? This late as well into the transfer season, it's intriguing to see that he went under the radar for this long. Maybe it's just Soudal waiting to announce until this later part, but they've done most of their announcements already. So maybe this one took a long time to negotiate and so forth, or maybe Moscon had many options on the table, but Soudal will be a really intriguing step forward for Gianni Moscon.
I mean, we might as well, before we go to Rider of the Week, finish with another transfer. Well, we had the Santiago Umba, but you decided to put him in the Eolo category. And then also Pilau. How do you pronounce it?
I believe it's Pelayo Sanchez.
Yeah.
Burgos Beash. 23 years old, just signed a 2-year deal with Movistar. He won a stage of the Vuelta a Asturias this year. Came third on a stage at the Vuelta a España earlier this year. That was a stage won by Wout Poels with that little reduced bunch sprint. Well, that breakaway sprint at the end. Sanchez has been looking really promising this year, really broken through. It's good to see Burgos Bash talent making it onto the World Tour level. Also, Scott, there's a couple more transfers to talk about. We have two going over to DSM Firmenich. That's Julius van den Berg, who's currently riding for EF, who took a stage at the Tour of Poland 2 years ago, as is Emils Leipinge of Latvia, who's moved over from Lidl-Trek to DSM Firmenich. Scott, two intriguing transfers, but before we discuss them, there's also an Alpecin Deceuninck one. Yes, Jakub Mareczko has moved over to Corotec as well, joining Christian Sparagli, his Italian teammate.
I mean, I'm quite surprised when you think about it. We're deep into November and we're still getting transfers.
For some of these riders, they're quite big. Van den Berg and Leipinge, they're World Tour riders. I'm surprised it's taken this long, but maybe DSM Firmenich has negotiated. Lidl-Trek as well have made so many signings. Maybe Leipinge's place in the team wasn't necessarily guaranteed. Mareczko's signing has come just after Sparagli. They might have the same agent. They're both Italian on the same team, Alpecin Deceuninck. But also, Scott, I mean, we were talking beforehand. I had a dream about someone rogue moving to a French team. I found out who it was. Ben Hedemans has signed for Cofidis as well as Kenny Elissonde, who we spoke about a number of weeks ago. Kenny Elissonde wasn't sure whether he was going to stay in cycling or not. He has secured a contract with Cofidis for next year. He's moving over from Lidl-Trek. And also Luke Plapp. His transfer has been announced. We spoke about this a couple weeks back as well. He was rumored to be moving to Jayco Al-Ula. So, there we go. So many transfers, particularly like Plapp is a big one. Elissonde and Hedemans as well, two sort of World Tour level riders as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we spoke about Plapp. I don't really understand why it took so long to announce him. That was such a confusing transfer as well. Like Ineos Grenadiers is just getting rid of their top talents now, which is crazy. Yeah, Ineos Grenadiers, we still have that question mark. What are they going to do? I'm glad for Elissonde, as you said as well, that he actually got a contract with Cadiz, where careers go to flourish.
And also from Cofidis, they announced their team. They're like, we're not making any more signings, and Victor Lafay is not on that list. So Victor Lafay could be heading over to Age d'Isère, we believe, for next year.
But I thought that was confirmed, no?
Has it been confirmed?
Yeah, I thought it was.
I don't know if it's been confirmed. It's been strongly rumored.
Okay. Same thing in cycling most of the time.
Yeah. It hasn't been announced 100% yet, but I mean, he's not Cofidis' books for the next year. So Age d'Isère seems to be the lead that we have. We had that lead a couple months back anyway.
But Ewan, I mean, with all these teams signing riders and many teams being full now, Ineos Grenadiers, are they just going to sign a bunch of under 23-year-olds?
Yes. Yes. They did that last year. They'll do that this year. Don't forget Tobias Foss. He's the one guy it looks like that they're bringing in, unless he gets swept up by Israel Premier Tech in the last hour. But yeah, it's definitely looking like it's crunch time for Ineos Grenadiers. As you said, they got 26 riders on their books for next year. They have enough. They need 26 riders to be a World Tour team. The one that we should be worried about here is Soudal Quickstep. They're missing one rider in order to hit their quota.
Okay, it's not as bad as we thought. Why did we only have 15 riders on? I guess they did a lot of extensions as well.
Extensions with Garrett Thomas and so forth, and announcing more. AJ August was announced. I think Luke Rowe was also extended recently. Castroviejo or Fraile? One of the Spanish riders. I think Fraile, his extension was also announced recently as well. So I guess they've just been late in the season to announce a lot of them. We spoke about this as well last year, how like they waited until like they waited until like October to really like announce most of their signings. So yeah, it looks like Ineos Grenadiers are just pulling this tactic, but they have a legal amount of riders for next year. So look out for Soudal Quickstep. They need one more rider in order to hit their World Tour quota. Who will it be?
Tobias Foss.
To be fair, Tobias Foss actually could be quite a good signing for Soudal Quickstep.
Yeah, I think so too as well. But I mean, we might as well finish this podcast with Rider of the Week. And yeah, I mean, if you don't pick him, I'm going to pick him. So who's your Rider of the Week?
Well, there's like no racing going on apart from Cyclocross, so it's going to be...
I think there actually is other races going on.
Oh, I mean, there's a race in Japan right now.
Yeah.
the trophy key to that over now. There's also the Barbados Championships as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. The road race, yeah. Or the Puerto Rican.
You said that as if you watched it.
No, I missed it. I was going to tune in.
Well, Edwin Sutherland, congratulations. You won that race in a sprint with Joshua Kelly. But I'm going to go for Pim Ronhaar. I mean, he was the obvious choice. Come on. He won the cyclocross race. I don't think many people are expecting him to win it. It's quite cool for him. And yeah, Dendermonde is a hard race, usually very, very muddy. But that's also because it's usually later in the year.
Well, then I'm between a rock and a hard place here.
Alvarado. Choose Alvarado.
Okay, I'll choose her. Okay, but then it's just Dutch. Then we're as bad as the cyclocross race.
Unless you choose Miguel Angel Lopez.
We can't pick him when he's not racing. Poor guy. I feel sorry for him for being kidnapped. Oh, what went out was in Colombia as well. I don't know if you saw that. Partying hard. Part of the Rigoberto Urán thing, he brings a famous person over every year. I think he had Sagan one year. That was a very funny finish to this. But anyways, that's basically it for our two-man echelon episode here. And of course, we're going to get Patrick back next week. But yeah, as always, join the conversation down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the YouTube channel. And please help us on the Spotify by giving us a 5-star review. And until next time, thank you for watching or listening, and we will see you around.